It's Kevin with Rogue Deck Builder here with a different sort of episode for Market Monday. I'm going to try to kill two birds with one stone. I've been putting off this box opening that I have for a patron for Unfinity. I don't know what my patron expected with this kind of boring box. I guess to try to see how many Shocklands that we open to see if Unfinity is actually worth it to open. And that's kind of the discussion of this particular video, is talking about products from the 2022 era to the 2023 era where there just seem to be miss after miss after miss. That products like Unfinity and Commander Masters, Dominator Remastered, Ravnica Remastered even at this point, New Capenna, there were just a lot of misses that led to distributors blowing these, or even Wizard of the Coast dumping them on Amazon, within in turn made distributors dump them on the market, as well as everything from this era that was considered this miss was a toxic asset at that point, as it just kept going down, down, down. So I believe my patron got in. My patrons were able to get in on Unfinity for in the 60s. I think it was just absolutely bottomed out at that point, and distributors were just trying to, like I said, liquidate it. And now it seems to be an interesting set for the long term. There's a couple of factors I want to talk about. First is we're seeing like Universes Beyond and a lot of newer sets have of these wonkier mechanics that are actually starting to synergize with things from Unfinity. And the one I'm speaking of is the dice rolling mechanics from Fallout. The Mr. President and CEO has the dice rolling mechanic, which Unfinity has some of the best dice rolling cards in it. So not only do you have the shocks that do add value to a product like Unfinity, you do now have a Universes Beyond set that is driving the price up, and so far not substantially, but I think when the dust settles with Fallout, I think we are going to see some substantial gains from some of these cards. I think the Comet Planeswalker, and there was like one or two other cards, actually did significantly go up by a couple bucks. I think there's a double up or a triple up in one of the like dollar cards. It's now like $3 or $4. But other than that, I think long term, what is interesting about these type of products is I highly doubt that they're going to be reprint targets like some of the cards that are from more popular sets like Lord of the Rings that they'll maybe want to get in. Like Orcust Bromaster type cards, for example. So this kind of makes these products very, very attractive long term for the singles that are contained in them. There have been some times in the past where products have been, I mean, the same thing. I can think of like the Ixalan days and the Amonkhet days, where like nobody wanted to touch those products. And then you have things like an Anointed Procession that just kept going up and up and up. And now it's like, oh wow, maybe Amonkhet boxes are something that are worthwhile to, crack. And the kind of scarcity of them, that no one is really holding on to them, actually made them a more scarce product than a product that was at that time period like Dominaria, that was absolutely sought after and hoarded and whatnot. And it's funny, speaking of Dominaria specifically, is that was a box price that went through the roof because people love that set. And then from various reprints, and just the fact that there was just so many people that were hoarding on a sealed product. And then when that dominoes, when the tower came tumbling down with all the investors in sealed product, Dominaria was one that got hit the worst, because that was the most supply that was being hoarded because people thought it was such an iconic set. So I'm just going to talk about kind of some of the things I've been seeing here with the market with this age product as we open this Unfinity and see what we kind of pull. Again, this whole set was based around the fact they're hoping that it would sell based on the Galaxy cards. And I think this is kind of a stupid premise. They've beaten this dead horse with, it used to work, it used to sell packs. It was the one Unglued that sold through the roof just because of the full art lands. Well, now full art lands aren't that special, borderless aren't that special, new treatments aren't that special. There are already 2 or 3 different specialty versions of Shocklands already. So they're competing with people that want to bling out. It used to be if there was a special version of a card, people would bling out their deck with that special version of the card. Now that there's a billion different special versions of a card, when they make a new special version of a card, it just has to already compete in that space with all the other special cards. So it doesn't have that specialty multiplier that it used to have when it was the first time it was a borderless, or the first time it was a foil or whatnot. So Infinity, there's a lot of things that went wrong with Infinity. First of all, I think they thought the community wanted to play a wonky set. I think that Wizard of the Coast continues to misjudge their demographic. I think we saw that with, especially with Karlov Manor now, where people just don't like the theme of it. They don't like the futuristic clue-based Ravnica set. Even though I think there's a lot of good cards out of that set, people are just very squeamish, and that's what's led to poor sales of Karlov Manor. Now, going forward in the future, I think it will be another discussion for another day of Karlov Manor actually being like a sleeper set, like something like this. And again, price point is everything. And that's kind of what I want to talk about this era, because these suckers, everything was just blown out. As I mentioned, I think that patrons got in on Unfinity when I was selling it during that blowout time for like $60 a box. And I can't remember how much these were supposed to go for, if they were under or over. I want to say they were a premium product. They're a little bit more expensive than your typical draft booster, but I might be wrong on that. But they have recovered. There isn't the blowouts that they used to have, and I think we might be looking back at a time period where this the era product will just seem like the craziest deals, especially with the new price increases with things like Modern Horizons 3 and everything. It just seems, at least the past few years, things have gone up, and I'm expecting this for a lot of prices to continue to go up, because manufacturing is going to get a lot more expensive for Wizards of the Coast to actually make these cards. So I think they're going to pass that on to consumer. And now, just in a perspective of looking of the cost of these type of boxes that are still available on the market compared to the new ones, these actually might look very lucrative, comparatively speaking. So, like I said, Unfinity had a lot of things that weren't going for it. I think that Wizards was expecting Shocklands just to be a no-brainer, that it would sell no matter what. Of course, now with Karlov Manor Clue Edition having Shocklands in it, it left a bad taste in this product's mouth. But however, like I said, I think that we're gonna go back to Baldur's Gate probably, or a D&D set that will have dice rolling mechanics. There might be other things that will work with stuff like that. You never know when a set will just kind of sleep itself in there, or weasel itself in there, where people just forgot about it and forgot about the cards that contain in them. So the sales numbers are quite good for a lot of those cards. If you look at the dice rolling cards from this set, they have, we'll save this for last here for Bacon Bombs, they have quite a few sales here just based upon the commander from Fallout that has been spiking the price of these. So anyway, we'll just open it, and I'll kind of talk about the of course, stickers. They're still thinking that stickers will get banned in Legacy, or they've already banned putting stickers on people's cards. I don't know exactly what they're doing here, but does this one actually have a die rolling stuff? We'll kind of get to the good stuff here, but most of these cards are legal though in Unfinity, and that's where people are still. I don't think they understand that. I think when people go to build commander decks, oftentimes these things don't get looked at, but most of these cards are legal to, I believe, even open up attractions, right? Those are even legal in Commander. But there even is a lot of, there we go. Roll 3 6-sided dice. For each different result, create a 1/1. So, I mean, these are the type of cards that could become incredibly scarce long term, as they're not going to get reprinted in subsequent sets. And now for everything that deals with rolling dice, this common could actually go up to a few bucks. So very, very interesting. And it's kind of the same concept that I have for a lot of these products in this era. As I mentioned, it's like Ixalan, Amonkhet. That era was such a stinker compared to a lot of the sets around that time. And now those boxes actually, and some of the cards that are contained in those boxes, actually have a lot of high-performing cards. So again, they're destroy target creature and up to X other target creature or X number of attractions you visited, huh? So there are some wonky mechanics. So again, Wizards, I think, just thought that regardless of this type of stuff, that the value would always be in these lands. And the problem is when they create full art lands for every set, it's very, very tough to have these. You have to find the person that's specifically blinging out their decks with this specific land. So, I mean, this has to be a very, very impressive land, and they were out the gates with Unfinity. It's what led to it selling pretty well at first, but I think that also Wizards of the Coast just overprinted it so much. So that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to kind of look for lands here. I think there's 2 cards in the set besides the lands that are even worth anything. So we're going to see. I think that you also, on average, get 2 Shocklands, and this box topper is going to have a land in it, a Shockland in it, and it's going to have the borderless. It's not going to have a Galaxy foil. The only way you could get those was in the collectors, and that's another thing too that's very interesting. Is I wonder how the collectors boxes are going to hold up long term, because they do have the Galaxy foils that are still considered very, very sought after by the people that do want to bling out their Pioneer decks and whatnot. They were something that the reception for those suckers was very, very high. So anyway, That's kind of the era that we're in. I've been very impressed with sales in Magic the Gathering in general, because I thought we were still going to go through a lull for at least the first part of 2024, as things changed and the supply issue, or the supply started to run out. I still think the main issue of, did we not get a land in this one? Oh, I already got the planes out. The main issue for the 2023 and 2022 was not necessarily that Magic was on a downturn and the market was significantly bad. It was that all the money was just being pumped into Lord of the Rings and things that they just continue to print. I've stated it many times on this channel before that Wizards of the Coast needs to realize that their greatest competitor is not Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon or these other products, or these other TCGs. Oftentimes their greatest competitor for a product is their own products that still exist. And so if they want sets to sell, then maybe they shouldn't be printing everything like the rates that they're printing now. And maybe maybe Unfinity should have been a lot more, I guess, just a smaller wave, without having to go crazy. It seems like in 2023 and 2022, like they just went for it. Like every set, they just printed and printed and printed and printed and printed. Some of the attractions can be rares too, huh? I still don't even know anything about this set. So asking people in the comments, do you actually even play this? I mean, what was the experience of playing this? We didn't have any fire here. We tried to get some events going, but no one seemed to care about it. And I think that Wizards of the Coast even tried to do some sponsored events for stores to try to run some events to try to liquidate this product. That's another thing that I've noticed. Like, we're seeing a Baldur's Gate. So if you haven't heard the news, Baldur's Gate is going to get a new dungeon that's coming out to try and sell Baldur's Gate packs. So apparently Wizards of the Coast is still overloaded with Baldur's Gates. They've done a number of dumps throughout the years now with Baldur's Gate, at the distribution level as well as on Amazon, and they're doing one last hoorah. So I think that if you are a patron, you can get in on, I think it's $68 draft boosters for Baldur's Gate. That's not the lowest price I've been able to offer them. I know we've been able to even go below that, but I believe that it's still low. If it's not that price, it's around. It's pretty low comparatively speaking of what they should have gone for when they first were released. And Wizards of the Coast is trying to do an event around Baldur's Gate, with a new dungeon. They're actually creating these promos that they're sending out to stores, which will be a new dungeon that you can explore, go down with your venture in the dungeon cards. And there is supposed to be some sort of event that's going to coincide with it, with the stores that want to run it. So that's how they're doing their new kind of Amazon dumps. I've been very critical. I don't know if it's on this channel or other channels about the dino-sized drafts that they tried to do for Ixalan. And there are some other like throwback drafts that they tried to do, that were just stupid. Like the dino-sized draft was like one extra pack in the draft. That was the whole premise. Like it seemed like some intern wrote these little parameters up and tried to pass it off as an event that stores would want to run. And the problem is stores can run a 4-pack Chaos Booster Draft anytime. And Wizards of the Coast was very sloppy at advertising it. I mean, I think they had a couple posts on Arena a couple times and on their main page, but I mean, no promo materials really to give out to. Like, in the promo materials they did, you could print off, or like the worst blown up or screenshotted. I think we were laughing at one of them because it didn't really have anything to do. Like, it was called Dino Size, and they took like some random Ixalan card that didn't have a dinosaur on it, and that was like the promo material they had. And it was just kind of, yeah, like I said, so sloppy. And that's been Wizards' execution. And that's been my issue with Wizards of the Coast for quite some time, is I think that this company could do a lot more of the community generate, like the hype generation, and trying to do like little events that actually can get, if they want to liquidate products, they want to get people excited to have a lot of promotions, have promos specifically printed for those promotions, and really just blast it out there. That's where they can take advantage of their social media, that they can take advantage of their sponsored content creators that they sponsor, to run these events. And I think it would be get people excited about running them or playing in them. Unfortunately, when just the whole thing is just maybe possible cheap packs to your local game store and a very, very slightly changed difference to a format that already exists, I don't think is enough appeal to get most people excited to play these wonky formats. So you can get these cool little foil borderless in here. So not just in the collectors. Don't know if they're worth anything though for the the borderless foils for this thing. Again, that's what with this particular set, like who's actually going to want to collect all of these in comparison speaking to the supply out there. So anyway, like I said, there are a lot of things that I think that Wizard of the Coast is doing right, and there are, of course, a lot of things that I think are just so lazy and what I kind of call autopilot, or as I said, like an intern could do them. I don't know who is writing up these posts on their website, but they're definitely getting paid too much to come up with these ideas or even try to promote these type of ideas. So, however, with that speaking, going back to the whole point of the premise of this video, I think that these particular sets that didn't see a lot of popularity oftentimes can be the best investments for the long term. Like if you're going to compare this to maybe like a Kamigawa product that was printed multiple times, or Lord of the Rings that's been printed 1 billion times, that possibly this set might be the set that sneaks up. Again, I don't remember if I mentioned with Dominaria versus Ixalan, or even Amonkhet. Like Amonkhet during that time period was the box that was just awful, that no one wanted to touch Amonkhet, and everyone invested in Dominaria. And when the tower toppled with the whole speculative bubble in Magic the Gathering, and everyone started to throw their sealed product back on the market, Dominaria got crushed. It went from it's like over $300 for the box price of Dominaria, down to now it is down in the hundreds, like 105, 110 is what you can get a box for Dominaria for. And meanwhile, Amonkhet did the exact opposite. So we do have a Galaxy foil that you can get in there in the packs, and the whole premise was at the time that Dominaria would age better because it was just such a beloved set that people are going to want this set long term. And same thing with the contents in Dominaria. Like a lot of them have been reprinted again because they are beloved cards, so they get reprinted. Whereas some of the cards out of like the Amonkhet era did not get a reprint, and it actually went to the box prices becoming more of a thing people wanted to, crack for singles, and drove up the scarcity and in turn the price of those boxes. So I could see Unfinity going that route, like long term, you never know if people really want to foil out their decks with these Galaxy lands, if you want to more dice rolling type mechanics. So the Acorn ones you can't play. Those are the ones in the constructed formats. So again, there is a lot of trash. I think this type of stuff is gonna always take the box prices of this set down, because it's like people just feel like so many of these cards are unplayable. I mean, look how many of the rares right there in a row are Acorn rares. They're completely unplayable outside of the draft environment. So, but another thing I think with Unfinity, I don't know if we'll see another one of these unsets for a while, because of how poorly received this one was. And I don't think they can add enough value with, like, now they've done Shocklands. Like, what do they go after this? Like, how do they're continuing to do that. I mean, even with Outlaws, they still have the special guest slots that they're reprinting, like the Villainous Wealths and things like that. And like people are each set that they do that, they keep getting less and less excited about those contents. It was kind of like when they did the collector's boosters with borderless foils with Throne of Eldraine. The first few ones were like Throne of Eldraine was just nuts. Like Ikoria and Throne of Eldraine, like people wanted those collector's boosters like no other. Oh man, this is the first. I can't believe a foil. Everything's foil in it, and they just sold through the roof. But now every subsequent collector's booster, now it's like less and less people get excited of those particular ones. The only reason people buy them is they still tend to shove more EV expected value in collectors boxes than they do in play boosters, especially with the price increase of play boosters. Now collectors boosters look better and better and better. So yeah, that's what I think is going to be the kind of mentality going forward for these special guest slots. And the other thing too that they're really killing themselves with special guest slots is now they're unable to put reprint sets together if they continually throw things like the Enchanted Tales in just regular standard sets to try to sell them. So they basically just can't have their cake and eat it too. They can't create the cards in or reprint the cards in standard sets and then expect their reprint sets to sell, or expect to have enough value you can go in reprint sets. And that was the biggest thing with Commander Masters too. I think Commander Masters was just absolutely chock full of amazing value if a lot of those cards weren't already reprinted in, like Enchanted Tales had a bunch of them right there that were reprinted in the following set. And a few of the other ones were in like box sets or secret layers, and that's one of the major problems too with Wizards of the Coast. Is it seems that they just don't communicate. The people doing secret layers don't communicate with the team making Commander Masters, and unfortunately, like a high-powered reprint that is expected to sell Commander Masters gets put in a secret layer, and now a lot of the hype is just, and a lot of the trust too, of people thinking that okay, maybe I want to spend for this Commander Masters because it has just amazing value in it, has amazing reprints. The trust isn't there anymore, and they'll just wait for a secret layer or wait till it gets printed somewhere else. So that is the mentality that I've seen locally with a lot of people. It just seems that reprint sets especially were the things that were hit the hardest in the 2022-2023 era of trying to get people actually excited for. If you remember back in the days like 2017 for Modern Masters and just the absolute hype when they just packed that sucker full of value and people lost their minds about Modern Masters 2017. And I've even lived during the time period of the 2013, the OG Modern. That one went absolutely nuts with the they couldn't believe it that Wizards of the Coast reprinted this X, Y, and Z in this set, and it was just the kind of the mood was just crazy during that time for the appetite for the set. And Commander Masters was just pathetic. Like Commander Masters continues to be blown out on Amazon and at the distribution level, which is another set that continues to look even better and better as the supply keeps getting eaten up by the demand. So we haven't even had a shock land yet. I thought we were supposed to average 2 per one of these. So unfortunately, Mr. Bacon Bombs, I think I might have opened you up a dud for the Unfinity. And we'll show the other one too. I was going to do a profit or loss with this other Unfinity, and then it just never got around to doing it. The Captain Rex is this one works with like vehicles, all right? And rolling 6-sided die. There's another one that works with 6-sided die that again is going to might get pumped up a little bit from the demand from the anything that requires rolling dice in the future, because these suckers are illegal because they are not acorns. So it'll be interesting to see what this set does in the future. So anyway, I always enjoy everyone else's thoughts in the comment section of what you think, because it's always nice to have eyes on the grounds everywhere. Like I'm can only see what's going on at my local. We have a lot of Commander players here, and we definitely misjudged the appetite for Fallout. We have misjudged, like, I think we're perfect on Doctor Who. That one was kind of a thing that was very niche. There were a lot more people that were excited about Fallout. But the Fallout decks were insane, too. That's another purchase that I think is good long-term. But I have to warn you about the Universes Beyond. It seems like they continue to make the Commander decks available. You can still get Warhammer. Like, it seems every time that Warhammer runs low and starts to go up in price, then Wizards of the Coast releases more. And the same thing is said Lord of the Rings. Everyone thought that Lord of the Rings Commander decks were done. Nope, you can still get them for super, super cheap. Still at the same price. Like, usually after fees from, I'll give you a kind of a ballpark of what they do, their Universes Beyond, you can get all of the... For me, I know you can. For me, you can get all the Universes Beyond Commanders for $160 or less. There's a couple of them that are $150. I think like Warhammer and Fallout are $150, and then Lord of the Rings and Doctor Who are $160 right now. So they're still right around release prices, or maybe even a little bit cheaper than release prices for most of those decks. They haven't gone anywhere. So geez, there's a few packs left. Maybe there is not. Shocks. Maybe Shocks are only in the box toppers. I thought they could be in the land slot too. Maybe we just opened up a stinker box for you. Mr. Bacon Bombs, you bombed on this one. Yep, another mountain. So what are the prices on these? Aren't these still like $1 a piece for a lot of these full art lands, though? I really do like the mountain. I think the mountain one is super spiffy. And, you have to, again, if they would give some breathing room for this type of stuff, I think that people would actually want it. But they are just dead set on trying to destroy any sort of collectability or any sort of, like, desire for people to want to bling out their stuff now when everything is bling. When everything is bling, nothing is bling. Is that the new? Jeez, wow, we have 4 packs to go. And I'll take a look at this. I think this draft booster that we opened up earlier still has everything from it. And wow, that is rough, because I think like, what was it? If you still opened up like 2 Shocklands, you could be under the value. Or maybe they just weren't in this slot. Maybe it was just all. Did you get one? I think you get 1 Galaxy foil on average per box too. Yeah, it's another swamp. We missed them all. There's one pack left, and this has to have a shocker. Shocker bust. But maybe I misunderstood this one. Yeah, maybe these are actually worse than I thought they were. So let's get to the box topper here. It was down here. And this one does guarantee a shock in it. And hopefully it is what? The most expensive one is still Blood Crypt, I think, in this one. It's so weird that Blood Crypt on 10 the version. Oh, Water Grave. That's a beautiful one. A beautiful watery grave for the Shockland that is guaranteed. Like most of those do go for like 20, 30 bucks to add the value. But even at that, it looks like even at that price, yeah, this sucker still does have a long ways to go before I think that it's going to be worthwhile to even think about Unfinity. So let me pull this box open really quick and see what we opened. I thought we got more Shocklands in it, but possibly not. Maybe there is only the one Shockland in here. Who had someone open this? I had a person that was going to help me with video editing some of the profit or losses, and then they never stuck around. So then I never did it. So let's see if we can see what's in this sucker for the boxes. Maybe I'll release this in the future for a profit or loss since I still have the videos. I don't know how people actually like those videos or not. So looks like all the lands are out of this first big mix, and we'll find the other stuff here. But yeah, I used to do a lot of videos. That was an old Darium CCG, if anyone remembers that channel. He did a video series called Profit or Loss, and I think it was during a time where everyone was getting so salty if people like copied their way of doing things. Like, oh, I called it profit or loss, you shouldn't do it. Like everyone, so Darium's did this whole thing that he'd give people the little intro and put your logo on it, and you can do profit or losses. Like he wanted everyone to do that, and so we started doing it just as a kind of a meme too. And they were kind of fun to do, but a lot of editing to open up boxes and then show every price and whatnot. But yeah, I think that there's a Blood Crypt was opened up in this one, but possibly these are just the shock you get from the box topper. Thought you could average some. Maybe as collector boosters you average like one or two per box, and maybe I've got it misunderstood of what you can get from yeah, we got no comets in that box. I believe there was a comet one open up in here. I'm kind of going quickly in this, but it looks like most of these lands have been taken out and kind of sifted through, so maybe I can find where they're at here. Of course, it's going to be in the last pile, probably at the very bottom of where I'm looking at, but a couple of them still strewn in here. Oh, there's the Blood Crypt. So is that the box topper? But that doesn't look like a box topper because we got the foil one out of the other one. So possibly you can get a foil. So there's the Blood Crypt that was out of that box. Swamp. Yeah, Swamp. Now we're looking at looks like now we're in like the rares that were set aside. So yeah, maybe it is you have a possibility of a foil or, oh, there's a Stomping Ground. Nope. Big Moms, you just got a horrible box in this other one with 0 pulls. 0 from that box of the Shocklands. This one looks like has 2 and the box. We'll get to the box topper. Probably it was a Blood Crypt in this other one. But yeah, we'll find it here real quick so that I don't get accused of, at least that, oh, it's Temple Garden. So it looks like Temple Garden was the box topper and a Blood Crypt was just in. So yeah, so I thought you did average 2 per box, and this one just was an awful dud, Mr. Bacon Bombs. I apologize for the absolutely terrible pull, but I believe, yeah, here's the foil land. So it looks like you average like 1 foil per box, so 1 foil land per box, and then you get the box topper, which is foil, and then you have a chance of opening up these other ones in there. So this box seemed like it was a lot better than the other box. I think that anyone is just looking for the lands to begin with. But I hope you enjoyed this conversation today for a little bit different for Market Monday. I'll try to keep the topics fresh for this series and get back to reviving this channel. I do think that it's my birthday tomorrow, so I don't know if I'm going to get a Tuesday Brews Day out. But I do have some decks I've been having fun with on Standard. I'm going to rant and rant about standard. I know a lot of people love standard, especially the pros, because we're back to a format where you do play Magic back and forth. But my problem with standard right now is how hyper aggressive and how hyper control it is, and even tempo. There's some tempo shells that are just absolutely miserable. So it's just the extremes in all these directions that it seems like the power level of standard is just absolutely insane. Like every deck, like aggro has all the pieces it needs. It doesn't need any upgrades anywhere. It's like a good to go deck. Same thing with control. Same thing with tempo. But unfortunately, like mid range really suffers because it's typically I like to play formats in standard when mid range is king. Because it allows for so much flexibility of what you can play when like the mid-range deck is a top dog. But now when you have a control deck at the top dog and like ramp that's right below it and aggro, it's Boros Convoke and mono red aggro that are super strong. They're like pioneer power level. Yeah, it's kind of rough to actually brew decks, but nonetheless, we are playing Magic, and I'm having a lot more fun than I used to with Magic the Gathering. So anyway, be looking forward to those videos. I appreciate everyone sticking around through all my sporadicness. I do want to get back to, of course, creating some meaningful content that people do enjoy. This has been Kevin with Rogue Deck Builder. Thanks for watching.